All right. Good afternoon. Hope everyone's doing well today. Welcome to Cooking with Glean. I know, based on the LinkedIn posts, sign up, you're probably expecting someone else. Surprise! As my friends say, I was in my surfer era. At any rate, now I'm in my cooking era, so let's get to it. Before we get going, a little background as to why this even matters. Data management is a real problem at all businesses. Just think of how many systems you have had to go into to get your work done on a daily basis. There's email, there's Slack, there's the file server, there's SharePoint, there's Drive. I mean, all these different systems, right? At Ripple, we exist to help people get their most important work done. Glean is a very big part of that. I know what you're thinking. Another AI, you hear AI this, you hear AI that. It's all over the place. But at the end of the day, Glean is all your data, all your systems, one prompt, simple and secure. There's a lot of power in that. We're here to explore that a bit today. So, what are we getting into today? We're going to be building an agent using natural, non-technical language. That means standard language you would actually use in conversation. This agent will gather all the data and create documents associated with a yearly financial planner's client review. Typically, this data is housed in multiple systems. This makes the effort and time very time intensive and potentially creates inaccuracies from team member to team member. We will show how Glean agents can reduce the time spent and increase the accuracy of the output. Sound good? Well, let's get started. I am going to share my screen. All right. So here we are in the Glean interface, and there's a lot of different buttons here, but we are under the Agents tab, and we're going to go ahead and start by creating this agent. So I click Create an Agent, and we are going to build it with natural language. All right. I type with two fingers. You don't want to see me or have to sit through me typing this whole thing out. So luckily, I have typed it out already, and I will copy and paste it. So bear with me, and I will grab that. All right. There you go. So this is the instructions we're going to give this agent, and it's going to build itself based off these instructions. You're a client review prep agent for a financial advisor. When an advisor asks you to prepare a review, you will then do these 6 steps. You will ask the advisor for the client's name, the type of review, the year to review. You'll identify the correct data associated with the clients in this particular directory, but imagine this particular directory to be any one of your systems. We can choose all the different systems that you would potentially get this data from. Um, we're going to use the different docs in this directory to gather the information. We're going to make sure that we tell the agent that it needs to keep all the numbers and the facts grounded in these documents. Doesn't fabricate. There's nothing new. It doesn't make up its own recommendations. It's keeping everything, factual. We're also going to treat all the client-facing drafts as material that has to be reviewed by an advisor. Like at the end of the day, this is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but it's not going to be directly handed out to end clients. So there you go. That's what we're going to do. Now we have a couple options here. One, we can generate the agent directly from what we put here, or two, we can let it enhance what we've put here and make it even more accurate. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to click Enhance, and we're going to give the AI an opportunity to kind of think about what we have written here and make it a better set of instructions. So this is where our natural language will now be much more specific and easier for the AI to follow. So there you go. It's gone in, it's added some variables, it's done a bunch of things, none of which we actually had to do. It did it all itself. All we had to do was start the prompt. So now we're going to go ahead and generate this. And away we go. So it's telling us basically down the left-hand side here what it's doing. It is the prompt that we gave it, and it is currently building. So you can see Glean says it's thinking down here. While it goes through its process of thinking, let's just talk about data and data sources. So Glean out of the box, over 100 connectors, native connectors to data sources. So what does that mean? That means that you can get access to your data no matter where it is, Microsoft, Google, any of the actual back office apps, Red Black, any of the advisor platforms, your CRM, anywhere the data is housed, we can pull that into Glean. We can also output the data into different locations. The cool part about agents is that not only can they pull in data from a lot of different places, they can place data in places. Um, the the interesting part about this, when you start hearing about all this data and how it gets pulled together, is what about security? Well, it's security context of the user is what's used to access all this data. So, for example, if I have a admin level access, I would have access to a broader set of data than someone else. So that didn't have that level of access. So what we'll do is we will get back to this discussion as the agent runs, but let's see what our output is. So here you go. The agent has been created. So you have a trigger that kicks everything off. And here we can click underneath this and take a look at this. So you see it's prompting for the client name, the type of review, and the year to review. Then we're going to do a company search. And in this company search, we are going to search for the relevant data for this client, the year and the type of review. Then we're going to read these documents. So the different things that we've pulled in, we're going to read that information, make sure that we get all of the information, and then we're going to respond. And we're going to respond with a large amount of the data. So the agent will be able to actually generate an output. And then what I'm going to show is that we're going to actually interact with the output to create client deliverables, which really reduces the amount of time necessary to build this review. All right. So without further ado, let's get started. So this interface is something that the person that's creating the actual agent will see. And so I'm going to use it in this demonstration, but then I'm also going to show you after the fact what it looks like for an end user to use it. But at this point, let's talk about what it does when we're creating it. That way I can point out some of the things that make Glean very, very interesting and unique. All right, so I click preview and you see on the left-hand side, it's asking me for the client's name. So I am going to put in our fictitious client. Type of review, we're going to go standard yearly planning. And the time to review, we're going to say 2025. All right, and let's go ahead and get going here. So we kick off our agent, and here you can see where Glean is working. It's currently doing the company search, and it's telling you what it's looking at. So you can see all the different data that it actually looks at and all the sources that it's attempting to find. So this is pretty cool because what it allows us to do is be really specific. In the company search, we can actually filter to data sources and things of that nature. So originally when we talked about accuracy, this is where you really start to get that accuracy. You really have the ability to tell it where to go so that people aren't having to guess what the source of truth is. So it's completed the company search, it's completed the reading, and now it's moving to the response. So here you go. So it's starting to dump out some of the information, household and roles, relationships, stage of life, planning context, all the different data. Now this is a lot, right? Obviously, it came from a lot of different sources. It's all kind of putting it together here in the window. And what we're going to do is we are going to, once it wraps up here with the response, we will go in and we will start interacting with the agent and interacting with the data that it's pulled. So then that way we can create the client deliverables, the internal documentation that we need for this yearly review. So let that continue to wrap up here. So a few more things about agents while that's finishing up is the admins can create agents for your users. That's one way to do it. Another way is for users to create their own agents. So you see how simple agent creation can be. So it's perfectly possible for end users to create agents to help them do their work. These agents may not be generally available to the entire company, and they would just help that individual user, but the admins can create agents that could be generally available to the entire company. All right, so at this point, we're done. It is run through, it has dumped out a lot of really great information. One of the things I wanted to point out was the sources. It will actually cite the sources it uses to pull the information. Now, in this case, there are a bunch of docs that I created for the demo. However, in any other scenario where we tie together a bunch of systems, they would all be listed here. So now we really have a great idea of how Glean pulled back the info. So then that's how we tweak and tune the sources of truth and make sure that we're getting the most accurate data. Okay. So with that being said, let's ask it to do some stuff here. So first thing we're going to do is there's an advisor brief, right? The advisor needs to have the context for the meeting. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask Glean to take the data that it's surfaced and refine that into a more conversational advisor brief that highlights some talking points. So again, I don't want you to have to see me type, so I've already typed this out. So in this case, we're going to refine this to a conversational advisor brief, highlighting 3 to 5 talking points that are key at the top of the brief. So let's go ahead and let Glean go on that. As you can see, it's thinking. And once it wraps up here, what we're going to do is we're going to take the brief that it creates and we're going to export it. So this is, again, a simple way to get some of this stuff done. It's showing the work, and here you go. Here's the output. So what we could do is once it wraps this up, wait, almost there. There we go. Okay. So now this is done. So what we're going to do is we're going to export it to docs. And so that will start, Glean will start generating the doc. Takes just a second here, and now we can click it and view it. So there you go. So now we've generated an advisor brief. Here's the 3 to 5 key talking points that we want to include in the meeting. So overall plan, retirement readiness, college funding, emergency fund, and healthcare HSA. It gives a little snapshot of the client, who they are, what they do, the children, etc. And then it jumps into a little bit more information, where the plan is, different things, and then actually starts running through the talking points. So as you can see, that's quite a complex document that was thrown together pretty quickly. And we can take this even further. This is pretty rudimentary. It's creating its own structure. We can actually tell it the structure we want. So if your firm has that structure, we are able to have it inputted into that structure, logos, things of that nature. So this can even, as a work product, can be even further down, towards completion than where it is currently. Okay, so that's the advisor brief. Let's ask it to do a little bit more. Let's go ahead and generate a agenda. So this could be client facing. We will go ahead and ask it for some concise client facing agenda that includes 3 to 5 key performance highlights from 2025, any part of the portfolio, and three most important topics and three to five, most critical decision points. So let's see what our agent comes back with. So as it's working through that, let's talk about a little bit more about this. So one of the things that's key is we were able to pull all that data back really quickly. And once we did, now we're able to slice and dice it the way we need to. And this will change by firm, right? Like depending on how you do your client reviews. But that's really the power here is that now that we have all the data, we can figure out how we actually want to present it, and we can present it in many, many different ways. This is just generating documents. Really, the power of this starts to get interesting when you start doing stuff with this data, placing it back in CRMs, things of that nature. So, okay, so this has gone ahead and created it, and what we could do is we can export that to a doc, and once that's done generating, we can take a look at what it actually came up with. All right. Okay, so here you go. Here's your agenda. We're going to do a welcome, today's goals, quick catch up, confirm what we like to get out of today, 2025 highlights, what went well, gives you approximately a time to go through that. So, some key bullet points from 2025. Then some topics for today. This is based on, notes that you had from previous meetings and things that are a concern for our particular client. So it runs through it. There you go. Decisions that we aim to make. And then the next steps. So here we have a nice, concise, agenda that we could either present to the client or we can just run ourselves. Either way, it gives us a nice basis. The last thing we're going to do with this is we are going to ask it for a executive summary for the client. And this can be something that ends up getting placed in the email when you schedule or what have you. But the idea being that, again, we're taking all this data that we got, and it can be some of it very technical, and we're really being able to parse it down and cut it down to something that's very human readable, very user friendly in a very short amount of time. So you can imagine how much time savings is occurring here. And then to the point of accuracy, the fact that we're able to choose where we're getting the data from, that helps tremendously with the accuracy. All right, so there you go. It did it. So the same sort of thing. So again, we can draft it as an email. We can do a bunch of different things. In this case, I'm just going to export it to a document. There you go. So it's an executive summary from Monica and George Sanchez, the 2025 year in review and the 2026 plan. Again, all these documents are documents that are not going to go directly to the client immediately. They are something that an advisor or an associate is going to need to take a look at just to make sure that they are on brand, um, they speak in the tone of the firm, etc. But you can see how it's able to get all the data in here pretty quick. So editing it becomes a whole lot easier. So here you go. Where we stand today, what's going well, areas that we want to talk through, and what we'll aim to decide on next. So very concise, very simple, something that anybody can follow along with. All right. So at this point, maybe there's a little bit more delight that we want to have. So what we can do is we can ask about any key dates that are coming up, right? Like let's not miss anniversaries and birthdays or big events that could be potentially happening for our client during this time. So we're going to ask, are there any key dates associated with the client that occurred in the past month or upcoming month? And let's see what the agent uncovers. Again, hitting the CRM, the different data sources to pull back all that data, and it says yes. Okay. Oh, wow, it's Monica's birthday. So that's really important, right? We're sitting down and talking with Monica today. It'd be wonderful to wish her happy birthday. So again, something that can really help enhance client experience and helps get the data into a place that's very easy to use. And all these questions that I'm asking, we can add those to the agent. Like these are not questions that we need to ask individually. I just wanted to show you how you can interact with the data once you pull it all back and once you have access to it in one place. Okay. And the last thing we'll do is combine both public facing information with our private facing information. So this is where this really starts to get interesting. With Glean, you have all of your internal data, but you also have the world knowledge. So if you use ChatGPT or Gemini or any of the other public systems, you're hitting public knowledge, right? Well, Glean has the ability to do that as well. So one of the things that we can do, or one of the last things we'll do here is, oh, didn't want to copy for me. Let me see if it'll copy. There it is. We're going to generate a general market outlook for 2026, along with some compliance notes and a note on market volatility and risk. So we're going to let that run. So again, the interesting part is it'll have internal data context, but it'll also be able to go find external data, which is great, right? So now you're getting the best of both worlds. So well, it did not like that prompt very much. Well, it happens. It's not completely without fault. The prompt that I wrote was probably not great, so I would have to tweak or tune that or ask it in a different way. Uh, at any rate, that is kind of how the agents work, and you can see how simple it is to interact with them, but how powerful it is because of all the data that it has access to. So at this point, that is the presentation. And so, John, I'll throw it back over to you. If we have some questions, we can definitely get into those.
Yeah, thanks, Jayesh, and thanks so much for taking us through that. It's just like amazing every day, just using Glean over here, just like how much we get out of it, and just how much time it's saving us, and just really transforming what we do daily. So great to share that. A few questions. This is our first one. Someone's asking, how long does it take to get Glean set up in the organization?
That's a terrific question. So Glean is actually, like I said, it has 100+ native integrations. So with those integrations, getting meaningful data into the system actually happens very quickly. So typically what we're finding is the time to implement is a couple of days, and then your data gets ingested and you're getting real results. You're able to ask real questions that roll over your data as well as public knowledge within 2 weeks. So it's really, really fast for
Wow,
us to be able to help your team get those insights quickly. It's a great question.
nice. And then here's a biggie. It comes up a lot. How do you convince the CISO to let you consider Glean? Like, what happens with my data? Seems like someone's run into that compliance brick wall a few times.
Yeah, yeah, that is also a terrific question. I mean, it's actually kind of funny. We engage compliance officers on this probably more than anybody else in the business these days because all the compliance officers are trying to solve for AI in a safe manner, right? So let me take a step back and kind of talk about the architecture first. It's a little bit technical, but I will try to keep it as high level and non-tech as I possibly can. So we create a private environment. It's in the Google Cloud. It's private though to whichever firm. Any proprietary or internal data systems data lives there. And what happens is Glean creates a knowledge graph, and that knowledge graph has your data and it has the user's context. And all of that is internal private data, and that is stored in a place that only your firm can get to. Glean is SOC 2 Type 2, and they have no train agreements with all the models that we use. What does that mean? That means that any of the models that you would be using in your different agents, and you do have the ability to choose different models, any of those models that you use are just working on the data. They're leaving the data. They do not bring it back to the public models. So therefore, your data never gets out. So that's kind of how that works. And that's how we create that separation. So we can obviously there's a lot of more technical details that we can go into if we have a follow-on conversation. But for the time being, just understand your data is housed in a private place, And the models are used to kind of index the data and create the knowledge graphs, but they don't train off of that data.
Great. And then, maybe a little related to that, the last one, most important one, who do I talk to if I want to see if Glean's a good fit for us?
It's a great question. Just go to Rippleit.ai. There you'll find a little bit more information. You'll be able to schedule a consultation. Our team is here and available. We would love to chat with you a little bit more about it. There's a lot here, right? There's a lot to be able to do. So when we start talking about getting your most important work done, Glean helps really enable that and allows folks to really start to think about what they're doing rather than the all the nuts and bolts stuff.
Yep. There you go.
Awesome. All
Well, I
right.
think I think that's it. I think that's it. I think that's a great example of how Glean's transforming businesses and saving us time and just really accelerating the way we work and helping us do our best work. But like you said, it's just the tip of the iceberg. So love to connect with anyone who's seeing this and starting to have ideas on how Glean might work for them.
Terrific. Well, thank you everybody for your time. This is a multi-part series, so look for the next one coming out. And until then, see you later.
Thanks, Jayesh.